Hello, 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 and welcome to the Blue Oval Podcast. I am Ben Weissel, and joining me, as always, Garrett Zatlin. How's it going, man?
Ben, I'm in a good mood because nothing bad has happened in the past few days, nothing at all. Um, so thankfully, we're in a really good mood because again, nothing bad has happened. Anyways, we have had some good things though. By the way, if you're a new listener and you're like, "That was weird," it's because the Sixers just got absolutely torched on their home court, and yes, they only lost by a few points. But um, what was good though is we got a new rating and review on Apple Podcasts, up to 89 on there. Thank you. Nothing on Spotify. Let's help those numbers get up there. But someone said that their son had turned them on to the podcast. So look at this. Family putting on family to the pod. We love hearing that. Shout out to them. Just telling us, don't have to comb through the internet to get through the results. I just really appreciate that. That was a really, really thoughtful, great review. Thank you for doing so. And I think we also have some comments on YouTube that we will get to later today.
Yep. Yeah. It was a great review. Really appreciated those kind words. And yeah, like Garrett said, we got some questions to answer. Like we said, if you got any questions you want them answered, YouTube comments, ratings, and reviews, good place to get those read. So we will get to those later. But Garrett, let's just dive into the action. We saw a bunch of really interesting results individually, but I think more interestingly, we saw a lot of relays. Obviously, in this past relay weekend, specifically at Penn, there was a lot of really good action. So let's jump right into that, and let's start with Harvard women breaking the DMR record, running 10:37. Maya Ramsden throwing in a 421 split. It was absolutely incredible to watch. And one of the Blue Oval podcast favorites came up absolutely clutch, and that is Victoria Bosung. Was awesome to really put Harvard in this race and give Ramsden the chance to kick down a Providence team, which was really, really good this weekend, and
Really
just
good.
could not they came as close as you could to winning a relay without winning a relay this weekend.
Yep. That was tough. I feel bad for Providence, but Harvard was awesome. And when I did my predictions, I was like, I'm choosing Harvard solely because Maya Ramsden is on that anchor leg.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think even if Providence was another second or two ahead, I still think Maya Ramsden probably gets May, which is crazy because May split 423.
Yeah, she was really good.
It was so good. So, but like you kind of look at this entire relay, it's so complete. Like Aaron was on the leadoff leg, and she wasn't amazing, but like she at least held her own. Those middle legs, Boston was so good. Their 400-meter leg, whose name escapes me right now, I think Chloe Fair is her name. They were so good in positioning Ramsden to basically only be a second down. But can we talk about the time?
Yeah.
10:37 is a dumb time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like 10:49 is what I predicted everyone. I was like, that's gonna be pretty quick in a tactical race. No, 10:37.
It's one of those numbers where you're just like, wait, it's just like so out of context. You're like, wait, what's a good women's DMR time?
Yeah.
I look like when I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, under 11 I thought was pretty good, but that can't be right because they just went 23 seconds under 11. Like it was just like it's one of those numbers that make you like question a lot of things, and like the scary part is like Gorian I think could have been better and like he could have like definitely given Ramsden maybe even like maybe not the lead, but like pretty darn close to it if she had run maybe on her best day. So I mean, yeah, time is wild when you have someone that can split 421. That helps a lot, but that lineup was super complete.
That was awesome. Shout out to Coach Gibby, like Alex Gibby over there. I mean, he has put together some really great teams in the last few years now. I mean, these women's teams have stepped up great in the postseason and cross. Obviously, now developing small middle distance contingent of really, strong and talented individuals. Like Maya Ramsden, I think is I don't know if she's like the best ever, but I think she's one of the best collegiate milers we've ever
Yeah.
seen. I mean, I think she just has to be in that conversation now, given how good she is. Um, so yeah, really, really impressive stuff. Providence, I feel bad. Kimberly May split 423, and she's just not going to get credit for that. I mean, she obviously gets credit for it, but like no one's going to give her the kudos.
Yeah.
It was a great race, really great race from everyone, but wow, that was impressive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just so much. Yeah. I feel like we started talking about Harvard during like those COVID seasons. And like you're like, hey, like these like Acer Iverson, Graham Blanks, they're running these like really fast times, even though they're not in season. And then like it just has like snowballed into
Yep.
where they are on both the men and women's side now. So big kudos to them. Let's move on to, I think, the other big winner of the weekend, and that was the Villanova men taking home the DMR title and the 4x mile title, breaking the collegiate record, running 15:51 in the 4x mile. Both of these races were like super exciting. I don't know what you thought, and I had a little bit of like hindsight bias when I knew the result before I watched it. It just like this always seemed like Liam Murphy's race to win. Like it was just set up so perfectly for him in both situations. I thought Gary Martin and Tefra did admirable jobs of making it a race up until the last like 80 meters. But the way that Villanova was able to set up Murphy, who has arguably the best kick in the country, there really was no other result that was going to happen.
No, no. I mean, you go back and look at my predictions. I'm trying to figure out what I said specifically in my predictions here. I said Wisconsin would win the men's 4x mile,
Mhm.
but I also said that the Wildcats would win the DMR. Um, and like again, the only reason why I said that I thought Wisconsin would win the 4x miles because they had Adam Spencer originally
Yes.
listed. So if they didn't, then I'd be like, okay, maybe then that's a different race. Maybe Gary Martin and maybe they get the edge there. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest bit. I figured Liam Murphy is on the anchor leg on one of these two. It seemed improbable that he would get the same two scenarios
Yeah.
in a row on the same days with, by the way, the same guys surrounding him. It
Cast
was
of
Tefra
characters. Yeah.
and Martin, both on his shoulder, both in slightly different variations, but like so impressive. And the wildest part is that like of the teams that had all of their men under 4 minutes, it wasn't Villanova, it wasn't Virginia, it was third place Georgetown, who had all four of their men under 4 minutes, but they got third.
Yeah. So what it's we this has been coming. Like we knew like someone was gonna break 16. Like there was too many like programs with multiple sub four guys. Like Washington comes to mind, Oklahoma State. Like we knew that this was coming, but we hadn't seen the race like where the guys would just go for it really. And I think I read on Martin's Strava about how like he got the baton and he saw the time and he was like, "There's no way I'm slowing this down." Like we're like, and he did. I was. It was such a like cool thing to just see him push and not let off the gas, even though I think it ultimately probably cost him.
Yeah.
Who knows if he wins in a little bit more of a tactical situation against Murphy, but like the way he just led from the front to get us this like time. I mean, a lot of credit has to go to him because we've seen in years past you like those three legs can do a great job get it around like 12 minutes and then boom the anchor leg no one wants to lead and the times just fall and this race was made because of Gary Martin.
Yeah, and I also just want to throw out there, I'm also pretty sure that the 4x mile for the men originally their original lineup wasn't the same of what was actually run. So minor
Interesting.
caveat there. Yeah, I think it's actually like one or two names. Same thing with Georgetown. Someone's like, why wasn't Georgetown in your top five? I was like, because Abel Tefra was being replaced by a 403 miler. Like, So great race though. Like everyone ran so well. Iona ran well and made me look good. I predicted them in fourth. Like it was just a really, really, really good race. And Liam Murphy. Let's talk about Liam Murphy though,
Mhm.
just centrically now. Does he have the best kick in the NCAA?
I, so who's our contenders? What
Nathan
comes to mind for
Green,
me?
Luke Hauser,
Parvez Khan,
Parvesh Khan,
Colin
um,
Sahlman's up there, I think now
probably.
after this weekend,
I don't know if
and we'll
I don't
talk
know if
more
you've
about him.
seen it yet.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's probably who I'd say. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's hard because we haven't seen Murphy like kick to a national title, the way we've seen with.
Well, we also haven't seen that with Sahlman. Like I
Right.
mean,
No, I know. I was throwing out contender there. Where the way we've seen with like Green or Hauser, and I don't.
I mean, Khan, you could say the same thing though.
Yeah, Khan. I think Baston probably should be up there in terms of kick
Yeah, that's
too.
true.
He nearly kicked to a title.
That's true.
Um, I,
How about this? How about this? Right now, does he have the
yeah,
best kick? Yeah,
probably.
I think so too.
I'm hedging. I just hedging back and forth because
Yeah.
I couldn't make up my mind. But yeah, I think the way he's running and the form that he's in right now, again, as long as he gets to the last lap and he's in position, like it seems
Are
like he
you
just
willing to
doesn't
call
lose.
him a title contender? Because last week we were not.
Yeah, I think he has to be after this weekend.
I think you're right. If he'd done it once, I'd be like,
Yeah,
yeah, all right. You know, everyone has like a race that they can do it once. Doing it twice is different, especially with those guys. Like
yeah.
you can't, you have no room for error with Teffer and Martin. Like you just don't. Um, so yeah, okay, that's all I have on that.
All right, let's go to the women's 4x1500 where we saw NC State take home the win. This was a really interesting result. Obviously, you had good squads in Virginia and Penn State, but Sam Bush coming back and looking really strong to bring home the title for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I mean, I think on paper, like the Wolfpack just weren't as good as maybe Penn State or even
Yeah,
Virginia. Um, I think when you kind of look at Florence Caron and Kylie Kane, and I want to say maybe was it Madeline Ulam who was also on that one. I forget, but they had a handful of women where I was like, this is maybe the most complete lineup in the field. You could say the same thing about Virginia. Whereas NC State, it was like, okay, I trust Bush and I trust Hartman, even if she's dropping down in distance. But I don't really know what I'm getting from Hannah Gapes. Like that was the big thing, and yet she was the one who opened up this
yeah.
race, and she was basically the one who put it away with Bush kind of anchoring home 5-second win. So yeah,
Yeah, not a whole lot here. I think this was kind of the little bit of an unheralded race. Not a lot of drama, and NC State, even though it's not like the core group that we've seen in years past, it's hard to be like that surprised about NC State winning anything distance wise at this point.
yeah. I mean, it's like, oh, they won. Oh, okay.
Cool.
Shocker. Cool. Yeah, I was like, I even said in our preview, I was like, I don't know if they had like the best team on paper, but like it wouldn't surprise me if they won. And sure enough, that was the case. They actually dominated. So, speaking of teams that were on paper better and won, Texas A&M men's 4x8, Sam Whitmarsh 145 split. Interesting race. They put Farquharson on their leadoff leg,
Mhm.
but that leadoff leg was so tactical that it was 151 for the first four men, and then no one else cracked 152, which was so interesting. And I'm sure Texas A&M goes into that leg thinking, well, we have a 146-2 guy on this opening leg. Like, we're going to get a great time differential, and we just need Sam Whitmarsh to kind of get the baton early enough. For Carson was the guy who was actually, I think, a couple guys back from handing off the baton initially, and I think it was the middle portion of that relay, Caden Norris and Cooper Carthwa, if I'm saying that right, giving Whitmarsh a good enough shot at the end. So
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Whitmarsh, I think this is a good performance. Kind of good to see that he's still on that same kind of form and fitness that we saw him when he ran that 144. Good weekend for him. He was anchoring A&M for, was it the DMR, or was that the former Mike.
Yes.
It was really interesting to see him up there, and I was like, if you can just hang on a little bit longer, you're the best 800 guy in this group. Like, and he just
it was
he didn't
DMR. Yeah.
he didn't have it. But yeah, I think really good sign for him. Again, deserves to be one of the top favorites in the 800. I was really impressed with Oregon this weekend, the Oregon men.
Yeah.
I just think this was a good weekend. It's not gonna like show up in terms of national title points or anything, but they needed this kind of weekend where they kind of just like put themselves in it, like prove that they could compete as a team with some of the best middle and long distance runners in the country. And they didn't win anything, but I just liked that they were in the mix. I liked what I saw out of Reinhardt Harrison. Like, we've been waiting to see him kind of push on from his really great high school career, and it looks like he's starting to fulfill some of that potential. So I thought a sneaky kind of under the radar team that had a really good weekend was the Oregon men.
Agreed. Agreed. Reinhardt Harrison's, I think, the biggest takeaway here.
Yeah.
Splits 147 on, I think, the 4x8, which is huge. Like, it's one thing if Oregon runs well, but it's all veterans, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, sure. But, like, what does that mean for the future? Reinhardt Harrison now actually having now a couple decent races under his under his legs. That encourages me about what his future is. I think what you said is correct. No one's going to be like, oh my gosh, Oregon Ducks. But it's a really nice step in the right direction.
Yeah. And I mean, Oregon expects to be winning these, right? I mean, they're Oregon, but again, every program, like especially where they're coming from, you need to have these small positive steps. And I think that's what we do better than anybody else is we diagnose those small steps before
Agreed.
someone really moves on. I mean, hey, Victoria Bossing, big reason for Harvard's DMR. We've been talking about her, and she's come through in a really nice way. Anything else on this before we hit our last relay?
Nope.
All right, the last one we'll talk about, the women's 4x8. Washington women take home the win. Providence dropping the baton late. It was such a like heartbreaking moment. And it was it Kimberly, was it May who, or was it Flockhart? Yeah, Flockhart, who just like drops it and just like keeps running. And I appreciate that. I was like, hey, just like see if you could have won, and she could have clearly. But man, it just a brutal way to lose. I was honestly surprised it didn't happen earlier. You look at like that last like 150, they were like bumping into each other several times. Like, it was very clear, like Flockhart needed to have that baton in that other hand, even though that's not really how you're trained to do it. It's just a bad bit of luck. And for Washington, they ran really well. I was really impressed by just their lineup as a whole. And Samantha Freiburg, I mean, she was a star for them this weekend.
Yeah, she was. I mean, she was so good. Providence, here's the thing. If Flockhart had stopped, gone back, grabbed the baton, and crossed the line, I wonder what would have happened then, right? They probably, okay, get second or third or whatever it is, or whatever,
Yeah.
wherever they finish. They'd probably get that, but then it's like, well, then who was disqualified? Like, was there a reason for someone to be disqualified at all? Right? Does that matter? Does them finishing matter? But also, like, I just want to throw this out there. I would have done the exact same thing as Flockhart. I would have done the exact same thing. Everyone's like, well, everyone knows you got to grab the baton. When you're in the moment, exhausted, when you have fans yelling at you in the stands in this dramatically NCAA record type race, yeah, sorry. Maybe I just think, hey, I'm just going to cross the line and like maybe they'll get DQ'd or something like that. My only like thought process of why they would maybe not get DQ'd is because Forrester did have the right to be where she was.
Yeah.
Right. And nothing that she did in her motion was, I would think, considered unnatural. And I think at that point, it's on the other runner to then protect your baton. That's the only argument that I could see favoring, like why that was not like called as like an impediment or whatever it is. So, but I mean, across the board, Providence was not supposed to run that well. They did. Washington, was great, but they did so with personnel. The women who I thought was going to make them successful, I didn't think it was going to be Freiburg splitting, 202.
I mean, she was the reason why they had a chance. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like really without her, I mean, like you watch that race and it's like she's the one that stuck out as like the biggest X factor out of all those first three legs. And yeah, I agree. I don't think Washington would have been DQ'd. Like that's why I keep saying bad luck. It's just
Hmm.
an elbow hits the baton in the perfect way that it dislodges from your hand. Like there's only so much. There clearly wasn't any like thing malicious. There clearly wasn't like moving into her space in any kind of big way. It's just an unfortunate accident, and I wish they would just give them second place, but that they
Yeah, you
obviously
can't.
won't do that.
Yeah. So, um, great race. Great race. I mean, like, and we forget this is like an NCAA record, barely, but
Yeah.
it's an NCAA record. So, shout out to Washington. I think after a tough DMR performance.
Hmm.
By the way, DMR. Did we already? Oh, yeah, we already talked about that.
Yeah.
Gracie Morris of TCU split 429. By the way, did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
That was
It's
wild.
wild.
Yeah. All right.
She
Good.
the women that have left Arkansas, like, and transferred to other places, it's
Well,
just
she was
like
at Texas.
or Texas, you're right, you're right. All right, well, but that my point doesn't quite stick, but there have been some interesting, like, transfers from Arkansas that have gone on to do great things, and Gracie Morris is obviously one from Texas that has gone on to do great things
Yeah,
at
you're thinking
Arkansas.
Gracie Hyde. Yeah.
That's yeah, I am.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think that's it. I think we're good on the relays, right?
Good on the relays. Let's go to the individual results. And let's start off with Colin Sahlman's 145 in the 800, beating Rivaldo Marshall 146, and Nico Young running 147 in this race. Do you want to go ahead and read our YouTube comment question here?
Yes, I had it, and then I thought the old recording would save it, but it did not. Um,
I got it. I got it for you.
Never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
All right, so we got to get this question. Based on Colin Sahlman's 145 800 victory over 2024 indoor champ Rivaldo Marshall, do you all think that he has the best kick in the NCAA in the 15? Secondly,
Well, let's take this
okay,
step by step. Let's
yeah,
go
all
step by
right,
step. First off, I think we would both disagree. We would both say I don't
yes,
think so, but
yeah,
he could. I think is
mhm.
probably a fair assumption. Correct?
Yes, yeah. Again, I want to see it in the NCAA championship a little bit more.
Yeah.
Secondly, based on that, do you think he will double in both the 15 and the 8 at the NCAA championships? And do you see any other 1500-meter runner doubling as well?
So no, I don't see the double happening. I think it's extremely challenging to double at the outdoor national meet. Could he? Sure, but with the Olympic year, you probably don't want that much racing under your legs in early June before you go to late June. It's again very challenging. Very, very, very few people ever do the 800, 1500 double. Um, so yeah, I don't. I just don't see it happening.
That doubles something you do after you've won a couple 1500-meter, a couple 800-meter titles, and you're upping the difficulty level and trying to do something that'll win you a Bowerman or something.
Yeah,
You just we don't see that happen for at least title contenders hardly ever. You have to be at the top of your game. So I could see Solomon doing it in a year or two. Like if he ends
agreed.
up winning a title here, and he turns into the runner that it seems like he might, then that might be the best way to challenge himself in the NCAA.
So what was the next portion of that question?
Yeah, he also said we saw Nathan Green fall short this year in the indoor 800. Does Green's lack of success influence other decisions not to double? He mentioned that Green is third fastest American, or is this? Yeah, is he
That's probably
saying
Solomon. That's probably
Salmon
Solomon.
third fastest American at over 1500 meter and fifth fastest over 800 this year?
I don't know because I thought fifth fastest is only Sahlman. Really? I thought he was a little bit faster than that.
Yeah, that's a good
Uh,
question.
Salman's second. I don't know. All right, so I don't know. I'd have to probably double check on some of those numbers. But regardless, I let's just put it this way: I don't think anyone of the main contenders, 800 or 1500, double. I think they probably stick with what they are trying to do. I think Green sticks with the 15. I think Salman sticks with the 15.
Yep.
Um, and in terms of like, oh, could Salman do the 800? Sure, but I don't think he would, especially not before the Olympic trials. Probably once the practice. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This is a great opportunity for him to learn how to race outdoor 1500 meter at the national championships. Like this is invaluable experience that you get precious little of. He's gonna want that opportunity because even if he falls short, that'll help him hopefully win a title or two in the next few years. So absolutely, I think he'll stick in that event.
real quick before we move on, I have a question for you,
Yeah.
which is,
Mhm.
well, listen, 145 is pretty lethal, right? I mean, that's a pretty legit time, especially taking down an NCAA champion
Yep.
in the 800 meters. So has Salman improved his stock, and is he now the sole national title favorite? Or or do you think there are other, like, where are we this week compared to last week?
I think he maybe goes up within that tier a little bit, but he's still in that top tier. I don't think he's broken out as like the sole favorite. I think there's still that clump of guys right there in the 15. The 15 is just such a wild, unpredictable event, and unless you're a mastered tactician or you're just like miles better, and he might be entering that territory where he might be just miles better like fitness wise than everybody else. It's really hard to say like you're an overwhelming or not overwhelming, but the singular favorite in an event that's this loaded.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, let's move on to the other eights.
So, do we want to touch on? I mean, Marshall, good result. Young, good result. Not a whole
I
whole
mean, I
lot
would have
there.
liked Marshall to like
Win.
be a little more competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if there's a guy he's going to lose to, it might as well be Solomon, who's not even going to contest the
Yeah.
800 meters. So like, and then Young, I just assumed that he just kind of willed himself to that
Yeah.
147. So
Yep. Absolutely. Elsewhere, we saw Sebastian Fernandez 146 at altitude conversion from the BYU runner. I think back at the top of his game. Still don't know where he's going to land, but he's at least in the All American picture now after this kind of result. Where he's not a favorite for it, but is certainly someone that I think should make it to NCAA's if all things go well.
yeah, I mean, he's just been having a tough year. I
Yeah,
mean, let's call it how it is. He's been having a really challenging year, but this is the first time where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Now he's kind of back in the swing of things. He had a really good time as well. I I don't know if I'm ready to call him an All American like contender yet. He's just been having such a tough year, and the postseason hasn't always been super kind to him. Not on the
no,
championship stage. So I just like want to see. I imagine he's probably going to go to the Big 12s, and he'll probably be having to face the Iowa State guys and Yusuf Izimana and
yeah.
probably some Oklahoma State guys and a few others. I'd be interested to see what happens there.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get a much better picture after conference weekend. But yeah, I just think the experience, albeit maybe not great experience, I think should help him in a year where there's just a wide cast of characters in the 800, at least at the top of the performance list this year. Elsewhere, we saw Wes Ferguson take home another win, 146, beating Darius Kipiego, Finley McClear, and Isaac Bastion in one all running 146 as well. I don't have a ton. This is good to see. I'm really loving the revival of Finley McClear, and I think I will again pick him to probably be an All American during this outdoor season. He even though he's doesn't look like it with a third place result here or fourth place result here, third collegiate. And for Bastion, this is really just good outside of the 1500-meter work. Ferguson continues to arguably be one of the best NCAA runners in the country in this event, if not the best.
Yeah, for me, Baston's the biggest takeaway here. His previous PR was 148.9, and he just ran 146.8 something. So pretty
That's
crazy jump
wild
for him.
that he had never run 147 before. For someone who's
Yeah,
run as fast and has as good of a kick as he is, you would assume that that would have happened by now.
right. Yeah, but he hasn't also like run it as much. He's still run it a handful
Right.
of times, but that's a pretty significant jump. I was surprised at
Yeah.
how competitive he was, and that makes me feel a little bit more better about like, okay, championship season, tactical racing, big kicks, speed oriented. Knowing that he still has that after a really challenging last month
Yeah.
of racing, that was encouraging. So that's all I got.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to some women's performances. And let's start with Julian Nielsen, dipping under 201 in the 800, running 200.99. What did you think about this performance?
I think it just stacks on a really great season that she's having.
Yeah.
She's been awesome. She won the top section at the Raleigh Relays, top collegiate overall. She's run 412 over 1500 meters. She put together a really nice weekend double at Brian Clay. Now goes to this race. Not only does she run a really solid and great PR, two flat 0.99, but then she's also dipping at the line and loses by 0.02 seconds. I just like that she's not only running fast, that she's showing improvement with each and every week, that she's also going, doing well in the metric mile, but that she's also being competitive with like the very
Mhm.
top of these fields. I really, really like that from her. And I I've said this about Ball Song, and I've said this about maybe a few others. I'm like, wow, I kind of like her as an All American
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah. Yeah, no notes. I completely agree. Let's go to some 1500 meters on the women's side. We saw Silan Ayyildiz run 409 at Drake Relays, and we saw Teagan Schein-Becker running 409 as well at the Penn Relays. For Ayyildiz, this continues just a hot streak. She's been on over the last month. She's been really good. I think this is indicative of her fitness at the 1500 meter level in a way that maybe some of her previous performances have not been. And for Schein-Becker, hey, another TSR Blue Oval podcast favorite from the indoor season, beginning of outdoor season, looking really good again, running under 410 here.
Yeah, and great for Scheinbecker. Scheinbecker looks last year it felt like she peaked too early.
Yeah,
And then now it's like, okay, timed a little bit better. Just ran a 202 PR for 800 meters earlier this season, a few weeks back. 409 PR now. I like the progress she's on. She's a veteran. She now knows what she's doing. I could very easily see her getting into the national meet, and frankly, I'd
yeah.
be surprised if she wasn't at this point.
Yep, I agree. I think at this point she's someone that should make it to the national meet, and then hey, anything can happen in those rounds. I don't think we either of us would consider her a favorite to make it through to the finals, but she certainly has the ability to do so, which
Yep.
she certainly showcased this past weekend. On the men's side in the 1500 meters, we saw Luke Hauser run 339, beating Ezekiel Rop, who ran 339 as well. See, and this Luke Hauser is the biggest reason I think why I think Sahlman, we can't say Sahlman's in kind of a class of
Yeah.
his own in the 1500 meter. He just, I mean, he didn't have a great Brian Clay, but the man is just, he just wins and shows up when in the big moments against big competition generally. And he again did that this weekend.
Yeah, for the record, I agree with you. I don't think Solomon's in a class of his own. Just want to throw that out there. I just wanted to see how much I just wanted to poke the bear. I just wanted
Yeah.
to see if like you could really, you really bring him up there? No, okay, yeah, I have nothing really to offer on this. But Ezekiel Rapp, I will say this: second time this season that he's been competitive with a Washington national champion down the home stretch of a 1500-meter race near or
Yeah.
around 340 on a Stanford track. Okay, like that's so he's been really, really good, like sneaky good. And I think people forget that he was an All American in this event
Yeah.
last year. So yeah,
Yeah, and last year was a kind of a breakout year for him and putting him in positions that he wasn't quite used to. And this year he's got that experience and he seems to be benefiting from that. And it'd be fascinating to see how he ends his season. let's go to some men's steeplechase performances. EKU's Kristian Imroth running 8:35. EKU does it again. It was the most annoying thing every year being in the conference with EKU, just watching them score 40 points. It felt like in the steeplechase at conference, even though we had like sub 9 steeplechasers of our own.
Yeah.
They've developed another great guy there. We also saw I think it was James Corrigan,
Mhm.
8:34 at Peyton Jordan. And then we also saw, let's see, I'm mixing up my
There was a
races here.
handful of guys under
Yeah.
340 this past weekend, but Brett Gardner, one of them, he took late charge in that Penn relays race, but
Yeah.
Imroth got him at the end. So like Meisner, I think Drema and Teagan, they were
Yeah.
all under 840. So
Yeah. Yeah. This event just gets deeper and deeper. I do we think EKU could be like this year's Montana State? Like how many guys? I mean, I guess we're really only thinking they could get two guys to the finals.
uh so I think it depends because mm, so right now they have Abuzir, they have Imroth, they have Keaton Thornsberry, who has run 850 this season. Then they have Garcia Palencia, who has run 840, although he's run the steeplechase a couple times, has run 854 both times, so not sure what we'll see from him there. And then we haven't seen Kadri, unless Kadri's
Yeah.
done it. Oh no, he's run 148, so
That guy has the best range in the NCAA. He's
crazy
wild.
range. So he hasn't run the steeplechase yet. He's run eight. He has an 838 PR
Yeah.
and hasn't run the steeplechase. So if Kadri runs, yes, I could see
Yeah.
three guys from EKU in there.
Yep. Yeah, I knew we were missing somebody. So yeah, good weekend for the steeplechase. Nothing like earth shattering. I think we're just gonna see like it's gonna be a brutal regional. Like the times that we're gonna see, I think at a lot of these regional meets, if it's not like insanely hot, is gonna be extraordinarily fast because we've already seen 7 guys run 8:30 or faster this year. We have, I mean, let's see, 20 guys under 8:40. There's going to be some quick times at regionals this year.
Yeah, I was trying to see if El Taha Erui from Eastern Kentucky was trying to see if he had a steeplechase PR. I don't think he does. So yeah,
Give him some time. He'll get there
he might. And that's the
at
thing. He
EKU.
might. Yeah. So okay, what's the next one?
All right, let's do some women's 5Ks. We saw Anika Rice run 15:33, taking down Sadie Sargent 15:34, Jenna Hutchins 15:34, and Amy Bunnage 15:38. For Sargent, this feels exactly right. Hutchins about the same. For Rice, is a really good performance. Good to see her have a nice outdoor 5K. And for Bunish, good to see her kind of back. Obviously, she's not back at her best, but we've seen her top end ability, and if she can get to that, she's running out of time to kind of reach that. But if this is a stepping stone performance, then she could be an interesting one to watch late in the year.
Question: those four women, Anika Rice, Sadie
Mhm.
Sargent, Jenna Hutchins, Amy Bunnage, do they all qualify for the national meet over
No.
5,000 meters?
No.
Okay.
I
I,
think
won't-
I
I
think
won't. I won't ask you who you think is
well,
going to make
yeah,
it. I
exactly.
won't
I
do
was like,
that.
don't ask me who, but like the 5K is such a weird like regionals. Like there's always a couple people that surprisingly don't make it, and it's just and I keep saying this, it's a loaded group. Like there's just a lot of people in that 15:30 ish range or who have run 15:30 before. Like I wouldn't be surprised if one of these women missed out.
Um, Sadie Sargent is a 957 steeplechaser from last year, has yet to run the steeplechase this year, and I think you and I both agree she is clearly better this year than she was last year,
Yes, absolutely.
which is saying something. Does she run the steeplechase before the West Regional?
I think she should. I think she will. Just she'll give herself the option to run it. I think at the very worst, like she decides not to run it and she runs the 5K. Like I think she should at least test out her fitness, see where she's at in the steeplechase. If it doesn't go great, that's fine. She can go back to the 5K, but at least it gives her the option if she runs.
Let's say she runs 9:48. What event should she pursue? I know you could technically double if she really wanted
Yeah.
to. What should she pursue if she runs like 9:48, which is like the same thing as like Jeanette Schraft?
Yeah. I think steeple just because they at the top. I think like you have a little bit more of a loaded top tier than like in the 5K where it's like Volby and then Lemongol and maybe Olomamwe in there and then they're kind of everybody else. I think that she could finish like fourth or fifth conceivably in the steeplechase if she runs a great race.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah, especially because there's like Lexi Halliday Lowry, her teammate, isn't racing
Yeah.
this season, at least not attached. All right, I don't disagree with that. Let's go to the 10Ks. Leah
Hmm.
Stevens, excuse me, NC State, the freshman, wins the Penn Relays 10K in 33:09. Great. Also coming back off the 1500, which was
Such a
weird.
weird.
We like wasn't a great 1500 either. So, yeah, interesting there. But then Kelsey Chmiel comes back, runs 33:18, 15, 16, something like that. We'll call it like that. The question: what
Mhm.
percent chance do you believe Kelsey Chmiel advances to the outdoor national meet?
Oh.
And then, more importantly, what percent chance would you give her to then be an All American in the 10K?
So I actually give her a pretty good chance to make it. I think when you've run in this ballpark of time, and it was, let's see, let me make sure I'm pulling it up. It was 33:15. She's top 40 on the performance list on the NCAA number 4 or NCAA number 39 right now. I think just the experience, the know how will get her through. And so I'll give her like a 65% chance there. I think it's a very low percentage that she gets an All American. That all that experience and know how kind of runs out when everybody's running super fast, and maybe they won't be running super fast, but I think they're gonna push her past what her fitness is able to do. So I'm gonna give her like a 15% chance.
Interesting. Okay. I think to qualify, I'd do like 75. I'd go
Okay.
as high. I also just like, I think when you split up like the East region with the West region,
Yeah.
I'm just not like the East region just doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like it's not like a crazy region. Like I look at a handful of the women here, and I'm like, yeah, no, Camille could beat a lot of these women, even if she's not at
Yeah.
100%. And we're even assuming that some of these women will even run this event, which I don't know
Right.
if we will. Um, All American, I think it's going to be a little bit closer than you think. Like I would put it like 30-40%. 30, I'll call it 35%. I think the experience is there, and like that's not a bad time in what was basically a 5 to 6 month rust buster for
Yeah.
her. And so I think now she has a month, 5 weeks to basically prepare for the national meet and improve and get her base under her. It's not inconceivable for me if she were to try to get like a back end All American spot, especially when you consider this. She's run what 33:15 this season. Her PR is only 32:45.
Yeah, and she's gonna have to get kind of close to that. You would have to imagine to be able to be competitive.
But if anyone's going to do it over the next 5 weeks to
Yeah.
make up that gap, I'd say her.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I won't argue with you on that. I think if it's possible, she'll be able to do it. I just think the level of speed and fitness that the rest of this field is going to have, at least the top eight, is going to make that pretty difficult. Let's see. Where do we want to go next? We got Josh Methner ran 28:43. Good race for him in the 10K. Roisin Willis 2:02 800. Still not quite back. Not sure what's happening there. I mean, good time, but just not the Willis that we've seen before. 13:28 in the 5K for David Malarkey. He continues to, I think, exceed expectations week in and week out. And then Sophia Novak, 9:52 in the steeplechase. Really good performance from her. Any quick hitters on any of those performances?
That's all pretty chalk. Like
Yeah.
it's nothing too surprising there. Methner looks really good, like really, really good. But other than that, I really have no other comments.
Yeah, his like drop off has been a sneaky like underplayed like storyline for Notre Dame. Like they really needed him to kind of step up and kind of at least not maybe not lead, but be a big part of that group. At least in cross country and certainly in scoring some points on the track. And he hasn't quite been there for the last year. Looks like he's headed back to the potential he was showing his freshman year.
Yeah, he's had this like weird career where there's some days where I'm like, oh, he's an All-American, and he's an all, he was a cross country All-American
Mm-hmm.
during the all cross country season, 10K national qualifier the year after that. And then there's been stretches where he hasn't raced, or if he has raced, it's been frankly just unexciting and not great. But then this past fall, he was 6th at Notre Dame at Joe Piani Invitational, and then 39th at Nuttycombe, and then wasn't great at ACCs, and then just didn't race the rest of the season. So I never really know what we're getting from him, but the Penn Relays win 28:43, only 3 seconds off of his personal best. I think now we are finishing on the upswing, basically, after that kind of performance.
Absolutely, yeah. It feels like he's almost had his career in reverse, where it's like he had all this success immediately, and then he's kind of had to work through things. Where we usually see the opposite of like guys showing flashes and then working through things, and then and coming through and getting that All American finish, and it's just kind of been a little bit all over the place for him.
And it's very possible. I don't want to speculate, but it's very possible that he's had an injury, right?
Oh,
That he's had injuries. So,
yeah,
again,
absolutely.
it's just irresponsible to speculate about things like that. But also, general history suggests like, hey, there might have been a few like tweaks that you have to adjust. So,
Absolutely. All right. I think that was everything we needed to cover.
yeah, that was a lot. It was a surprising amount. I didn't think we were gonna have that much.
Yeah.
So, all right. Um, Podcast ratings and reviews, Apple Podcasts. Thank you to someone who left our rating and review earlier last week. Appreciate you. Go on Spotify as well, guys. We're also on Spotify and on YouTube. Go subscribe there on YouTube. Again, if you want to get a comment, you get a note out there on the podcast that we'll read, you can go on YouTube. You can go on Apple Podcasts. Leave comments, rating, and reviews there. Beyond the Stride, quick heads up. I know the audio was kind of a little messy with Grace Hartman's interview. We tried, but guess what? It was either I don't post anything or I post it and we get something out of it. So don't worry, not going to be the case moving forward. That was a one little fluky thing, but we're going to have more on the way there. And that is all I've got.
Perfect. Well, until next week, Garrett, I'll talk to you.
I'll talk to you.